seed in the Oakland bracket in a dogfight right now with 14th seeded Xavier. 71-67. The Musketeers, the champions of the Atlantic 10 tournament, in front. Dolman. Out of the corner, Duncan, too strong on a three. And an over-the-back call, B.J. Raymond. It'll send Morrison to the free throw line for a 1-and-1. 2:33 left on the clock.
2.5 to play in Salt Lake City. Xavier by 4 back in Greensboro. 2 minutes to play in overtime. UNC Wilmington by 4. Kevin and Dan.
That's deflected out of bounds by T.J. Carter. Shot clock at 26. Law will come back in for Kuliana.
George Washington now pops Mensah-Bonsu out of the game. Hall and Williams are the guys playing the inside positions. Basically, you have 3 guards in there. Elliott, Pinnock, and Reese. Keep an eye on Reese. He has made a couple of threes.
Rice throws. Elliott with it. Picked up by Carter. Nice ball rotation. We've seen it all night. Pinnock for 3. A 1-point game with 1:26 to play in overtime.
That's what you expect of a guy who leads you in scoring and makes plays for you. Only a 28% three-point shooter, but knocks down a big one.
Carter got a screen, but it quickly evaporated because Elliott fought right through it. Crossover by Carter. And picked up by Elliott. And Williams for the lead.
Boy, what a great move by Williams to stop and rise up and shoot the little bank shot. A lot of guys would have kept that ball going to the basket and picked up a charge.
18 lead changes, 10 ties, 1-point game. We're in overtime with 46 seconds to play. Rice is guarding Goldsberry.
Very little on the inside.
A 3 by Carter. And a missed rebound attempt inside by Krkovic. And with a 1-point advantage, here comes GW.
They've got a foul.
And that's what they're trying to do right there. And they do with Law picking it up. Law picks up 5, and he is gone. Fouling out of the game.
Now, Elliott is going to get to go to the line for 2 here. Remember, Elliott was on the free throw line with 3 shots at the end of regulation. Made 2 of the 3.
Well, there are so many players you could pick for the Chevy MVP. We picked T.J. Carter with 25 points and Maurice Rice with 20 for GW. And we could probably pick about 3 others on either side.
Well, you have had guy after guy on each team continue to make plays, and now Elliott gets to go to the free throw line. Even if Elliott makes them both, it's only a 3-point lead. And Wilmington they've been so effective shooting the 3 today. And of course, 25.8 seconds is not a world of time, but it's enough time that UNC Wilmington can get the ball down the court and go for the quick 2. They don't have to score the 3 at this point. Of course, it all hinges on Elliott and whether he makes both of these free throws.
About a minute ago, with 1:30 to play in overtime, George Washington trailed 85-81. Now they lead at 87-85.
Again, the block out important for UNC Wilmington.
Listen right there. Loose ball vacuumed in by Kuliana. It's a 2-point game. The shot clock is off. Goldsberry.
Oh, he got it stolen!
And it's loose inside and vacuumed in by Elliott with 10.3 to play and a foul on Wilmington.
Boy, it looked like the lane was opening up for Goldsberry, and he drove toward the basket. One of the few times today that it appeared he was going to try to score the ball, and it looked like it was Rice in there that reached in and knocked it out. Rice does a nice job reaching from behind, knocking it out. The foul called on Kuliana. And Elliott now, who just hit 1 for 2, he can ice the game if he makes both of these free throws.
He's 3 of 5 tonight. GW is on a 6-0 run since trailing 85-81.
All right, and now the Colonials stepping in. This is a situation where if he misses, you're George Washington. You don't want to go over anybody's back and foul on the rebound, but you want to compete for this rebound just in case he misses. Compete without foul.
Taylor Way is checked in for Wilmington. Elliott again. Another miss.
There's time.
And a three-pointer will tie. Goldsberry. Wyrick for 3 and the tie. And picked up inside by Elliott. Buzzer sounds and George Washington has survived. An incredible comeback. Down by 18. We're tied at the end of regulation, and they win it by 3 in overtime. And they will now play the winner of Duke Southern, which comes up in about a half hour. Here in the Atlanta Regional, a thrilling game, the third we've had of 4 to be played tonight in Greensboro, North Carolina. Greg Gumbel, we had a beauty. George Washington wins by 3 as we send it to you in New York.
Kevin, no argument. Outstanding game. George Washington survives the UNC Wilmington bid in Salt Lake City. Gonzaga by 3. Ian Eagle and Jim Spanarkel.
The number 3 seed in the Oakland bracket, Gonzaga, leading 14-seeded Xavier, 76-73, 34.4 remaining on the clock. Xavier has led this one throughout most of the night, but Adam Morrison making clutch plays, both shooting and passing. The latest, a dish to Batista to give Gonzaga a 3-point lead.
Well, you knew when Batista had picked up his 4th foul that Morrison was going to start taking not only more shots, but getting more touches, and his decisions have been terrific down the stretch in terms of when to shoot, when to drive, and also, as you just touched on, when to pass the basketball.
Game reset. Xavier has no timeouts remaining.
They want to attack the rim. They don't have to settle for a 3-point shot here.
There's Burrell. He draws Batista for the tie. No good. Morrison up high. Rips down the loose ball, and a foul called with 18.4 left.
Only his 2nd rebound, but a big one in traffic. And not only that, but he ends up going to the free throw line again off his other rebound. Burrell had an opportunity right there. He gets a good look, but who was guarding him? Batista, the big guy out on the court versus the small guy. That's a huge advantage for the little guy. You look at the intensity of Morrison because he knows he's ending up at the free throw line.
7 of 9 tonight. First one is good. 2-possession game with 18.4 left on the clock. Altidore Cespedes checks in. Batista, he heads to the bench. 34 points for Morrison. Tack on another. 78-73. 14 seconds. Xavier has to work quicker than this.
Sure do.
Dolman a 3. Side rim. Duncan can't grab it. And a foul called with 6.5. Boy, oh boy, did Gonzaga receive a scare tonight from Xavier. But the Bulldogs will have enough. Our Chevrolet players of the game. Stanley Burrell for Xavier, 20 points. Adam Morrison, 35 to lead Gonzaga.
Well, Morrison steps up and answered. Xavier basically gave him 36 minutes of everything they could go at. Keep in mind, they don't have a deep bench, so that probably caught up to them down the stretch here, but a little bit too much of Adam Morrison really directing the traffic from the forward position.
And Pargo 1 out of 2. Final 4 seconds. Here in Salt Lake, Burrell takes it end to end for the bucket. That'll do it. Gonzaga tested in the first round, but the Bulldogs win it. Over Xavier, 79-75. The number 3 seed in the Oakland bracket moves on. They'll take on the winner of the Indiana-San Diego State game still to come. For Jim Spanarkel, this is Ian Eagle. So long from the Huntsman Center. Gonzaga a winner. Greg Gumbel coming up with the road to the Final Four. right after this.
Greg Gumbel in New York. Here's what's ahead here on CBS this evening. Texas A&M and Syracuse will tip in Jacksonville at 9:55 Eastern Time. Top seed Duke and Southern will tip at 10:08 in Greensboro. In the Oakland bracket, Salt Lake City play. Indiana will face San Diego State. That game will tip at 10:12 Eastern Time. And later on this evening, Utah State and Washington will tip off their game at close to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Meanwhile, in San Diego, Air Force and Illinois are underway in the second half. Let's take you there live. Illinois leading the Air Force Academy 37-31. Let's join Dick Enberg and Jay Billis.
Here in San Diego, Sean Pruitt has just scored inside for Illinois, giving the Illini a 6-point lead against the Academy, and whistle away from the ball gives it to Illinois. Traveling Air Force.
And because of that walk, Air Force unable to get a back door, which they had set up so nicely when Augustine jumped out in the passing lane. It probably would have been a layup but for the walk.
And it would have been the first layup for Air Force in that Princeton offense in the entire game. Randall sat out much of the first half with 2 early fouls. Augustine playing with 2. And here's Pruitt powering against the shorter Air Force players and scores. Back-to-back baskets by the 6'10 Sean Pruitt.
That's an advantage that Illinois can exploit. They've been putting the ball on the floor and trying to attack off the dribble and then attacking inside to those big bodies.
And a hold on Randall. That'll be his 3rd. And the winner of this game in this Washington, D.C. regional, a little bit confusing, playing in San Diego, will meet either the Aggies of Utah State or the Huskies of Washington. Number 5 Washington, 12 Utah State in the final game of 4 here in San Diego. Olele unable to hit the long jumper. McBride will try 3 from the other end. Good rebound, Fry.
And Augustine a little reluctant to go after that harder so as not to pick up another foul.
He has 2. Pass. Not many dribbles in this Air Force game. There's some now by Hood, who spins inside and draws the foul.
You know, that's a great point you make. They pass the ball side to side, make the defense move. And when they do dribble, they dribble with a purpose. Either dribbling at you to facilitate a backdoor or a handoff, or in Antoine Hood's case, putting the ball on the floor to attack the basket. He's their best slasher driver. And off ball reversal, he really likes to attack the rim.
Averaging 15 on the season, all-conference Antoine Hood, a senior. And that's only his 5th point, and a reminder that we'll be switching to other games. Here's the tip times of the final 4 games. A&M Syracuse at 9:55 Eastern. Will switch you to those sites. Birchie with a near steal. Could have been called a foul and was not. Timeout, Bruce Weber. 2.5 minutes into the second half. The Illini by 6. $1,000 contribution to each university's General Scholarship Fund. America's brand supports America's best. Chevy and American Revolution. A steal. Antoine Hood, coast to coast, draws the foul from McBride.
Boy, is he an aggressive and energetic player. The active hands of Matt McCraw forces the steal. Just getting a hand up, and it is deflected right into the hands of Antoine Hood, who never misses an opportunity to put the ball on the floor and attack the rim.
Hood is at the line, one of their top shooters on a team that Shoots around 50%, 54% from the floor for him on the season. That's his 7th point. Pruitt and McBride go out, and Carter, who has been the star off the bench for Illinois, is back in as he joins Randall, Augustine, D. Brown. And here come the Illini.
A 1-2-2 three-quarter court pressure right now by Air Force. Give a different look, slow down Illinois in their advance into the front court.
Illinois' lead down to 4. And another deflection and a steal by Birchie.
Illinois starting to play a little bit more tentatively on the offensive end.
Look at Walele, and it won't fall for him. And he had his whole bench jumping and hopping, hoping that one would drop for the Falcons as Warren Carter commits his 2nd foul. Well, the tournament summary, the Big East starts not with a growl, but with a groan. And the SEC, just the opposite. 3 wins today, including here Alabama, a winner over Marquette. Tennessee, first win in 6 seasons for the Vols. And Walele, a solid free throw shooter on the season, missed only 6 of 62.
And what Air Force starting to get that look in their eye that they believe they're going to win. They're relating to each other very well on the floor and on the bench. And they're getting more and more aggressive.
Closest they've been in a long time, a 3-point game. And the crowd, the non-Air Force crowd, has joined in and rooting. And there's another steal, Birchie. It's a 1-point game as Air Force flying down court in the hands of Jacob Birchie.
Well, there's the craftiness of Birchie leading this team in steals. And right now, Air Force has Illinois back on its heels.
And that quiets the crowd. And who but the freshman, Jamar Smith, hits another long 3. 6 for him.
Well, you give that kid a little bit of space, and that shot for him is like a layup.
Hood with a slashing move, and then Fry unable to hit that 3. He's hit a couple in the game.
This is where Illinois is dangerous in transition, but Air Force does a nice job of getting back.
And they're going to allow the basket. Yes. Slashing in was Brian Randall, the sophomore from Peoria, sat out last year when in anger he hit the wall with his fist and broke his hand. Illinois saw its lead drop to 1, but it's back to 6. Well, they're deep into this first day of the dance, and here are the games coming up. Southern and Duke in a few minutes, as well as San Diego State, Indiana. And later, of course, here in San Diego, Utah State and Washington, approximately 11 o'clock in the East. So stay up late with us on the East Coast. We'll wrap up things on this first day as Brian Randall, 3-point play, his first points of the game. Interesting, Illinois holding on now to a 7-point lead, despite the fact that D. Brown has been quiet offensively for a long time. 5 points early for Brown, nothing since. Whistle away from the ball. And a holding foul against Illinois on Sean Pruitt. No, it's Carter, 41, his 3rd. A reminder, Tuesday, the Amazing Race. Get behind the wheel with the teams as they speed around a world-famous test track. Tuesday, CBS, America's #1 network. Walele triggers in the pass. And out to this energizing athlete, Jake Birchie. I'm really impressed with his effort.
Well, Bruce Weber beside himself, wondering how many pivot feet Noelle gets.
Matt McGraw gets 3 on that shot. Junior from Lakewood now has 9.
One of the top 3-point shooters in the Mountain West Conference.
41 72% in the season, McCraw. The left-hander Randall rattles out. High for the rebound, but 6'2" McCraw.
That's a shot that Air Force will give Randall all day long. They'd rather have him take a jump shot than get to the rim.
Deflected by Augustine.
Matt McCraw, a catch-and-shoot guard off ball reversal. Jamar Smith gives him a little bit of space, and he just pulls up and shoots right in his mouth.
Of some concern to Bruce Weber, 3 of his starters with 3 fouls. Well, Carter's the other. And there is who else but Birchie, and he doesn't tie up the ball. Brown with a great pass. Oh, how sweet is that? Jamar Smith, the freshman from Peoria, instant offense. The all Big Ten freshman team, and he's got 9 on 3 threes in this one.
And how about the vision by D. Brown to whip that pass through with his right hand and find him in the corner.
Lele deep, and he answers with a tray. He's got 10. And Birchie diving and fighting in the backcourt, out of bounds to Illinois.
Boy, a nice piece of sportsmanship over there by D. Brown. Patting Birchie on the back. D. Brown understands competitors and guys that go after it. He's got a great deal of respect for Birchie.
Well, here's a name a lot of fans around the nation does not know. Jacob Birchie, 6'6" junior. You want to talk about a 100% effort player. He was diving on the floor in warm-ups. Randall, clear path to the basket. Brian Randall with 5.
Brian Randall, before he's done with Illinois, is going to be a great player.
He's really skilled, isn't he?
He really is. Left-handed, can guard absolutely anybody. And as he learns to shoot the ball, to combine that with his ability to run the floor and put it on the deck, he's going to be terrific.
Lele, 3 more for the Air Force. And it's a 2-point game. 3 points, 50-47.
Well, you can see why Jeff Bezdelik has said that Walele is the best shooter he's ever had.
And Warren Carter to answer inside for Illinois. And what a game he's having. Just 2 points from his career high. He has 12.
Let's see if Air Force can get something going to the rim, because you know that Illinois is going to try to stick with shooters.
Walele, a quick move and the drive. And it's an offensive foul on Dan Walele, his 3rd.
Carter doing a nice job of staying in there and taking that. And because Walele knocks down this 3 off the Anderson pass, everybody collapsing in on the penetration. You figured that now Illinois is going to try to stay with shooters, and some drives or back doors will open up. But Warren Carter able to take it away with that terrific charge he took.
Good pass to Augustine. D. Brown sets up his fellow senior, and Augustine with 10.
Boy, their ability to run that pick and roll where Augustine slips it is tremendous, and the body control by Augustine. Anderson was there to take a charge, but Augustine just went straight up and controlled that body of his.
Hood is open in the corner. Fails on the 3-point attempt, and the save for Illinois is Smith. Gets it to D. Brown. 7-point Illinois lead. Smith again. Wow. Averages only 7.8. He's got 12 on 4 3-point shots. Freshman Jamar Smith. And just like that, the Illini jump in front by 10 with 11.5 minutes to go.
Introducing Papa's new Perfect Pan Meats Pizza.
Yeah, we got it.
Our golden pan crust, deep and square, piled with pepperoni, sausage, ham, and bacon, with a zesty new Robusto sauce. Try a large Perfect Pan Meats Pizza for just $12.99. $12.99. Call now or order at papajohns.com and we'll deliver.
Better ingredients, better pizza, and now a better pan. Papa John's.
Yeah, we got it.
There's the menu board for the 4th and final game of this opening day of action. And stay tuned. San Diego here will have Utah State and Washington.
James Augustine so good off a ball screen, slipping that screen and looking for his offense. And Tim Anderson right there to take a charge. But Augustine with great body control, finishing with that left hand. He is left-handed. And he was a high school quarterback. Can you believe, Dick, at 6'10"?
Tough to get under center.
Tough to get under center, but he can sure see over the line, huh?
But how about as a pitcher at 6'10"? He's the Randy Johnson of high school ball. Air Force clawed to within 1 and now down by 10. Fry from the corner. Big man can't hit the 3. That's 22 3-point attempts for Air Force. They've only had 6 non-3-point tries. 11 minutes to go. Carter with a couple extra steps there. Time on the shot clock down to 8. D. Brown. And he was fouled. Caught on the arm on that 3-point try. So 3 free throws for the senior. Antoine Hood. 3rd foul.
Let's see Brown taking a shot from deep. Caught just on the elbow by Antoine Hood. Good call by the officials.
Illinois will try to build on that 10-point lead.
Welcome everyone to the first round of the NCAA tournament from the Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. 16th seeded Southern against the #1 seed Duke Blue Devils. This game is part of the Atlanta Regional. The winner will take on George Washington here on Saturday. We have a sold-out arena on a beautiful night in North Carolina. J.J. Redick leads Duke in scoring. Chris Alexander leads Southern. In there someplace, Rob Spivery, the SWAC Coach of the Year, in his first season after spending the last 9 at Alabama State in the same conference. And Coach Mike Krzyzewski in his 26th season, 11 all-time in wins, 3 national titles. Our officials tonight, Fran Conley, Jim Haney, Winston Stiff. And our game tonight brought to you in HD by Harris Corporation, the world leader in broadcast systems for high-definition television and mobile media. The Blue Devils at 30-3, 14-2 in the ACC. Southern at 19-12 with a 15-3 Southwestern Athletic Conference record.
And Southern starts in the man-to-man, and Paulus misses the shot. Look for Southern to maybe try to spread the court and use some of their quickness to try to beat Duke off the dribble.
Campbell was inside and lost the ball. Roberts picks it up, and here comes J.J. Redick, and deflected on the play by Riley Smith. And Alexander tries to toss one up and gets the loose ball. That is rejected. Stephon Wiley tried to get that up. Now the other way comes Sean Dockery. Redick. Dockery picked up by Cipriano.
Southern got back well on defense that time. The Jaguars playing in the man-to-man.
Redick for 3. And he's off. Duke, the ACC regular season champion and the ACC tournament champion. The Southern Jaguars won the SWAC tournament, their first tournament win in 13 seasons. Nice ball was inside by Jared Campbell, a senior from Dayton, Ohio. And that's a throwaway by Duke.
One thing that you'll find with Southern is they've got some mobile big guys.
Let's take a look. A little bit of history on Southern from Baton Rouge. Duke has had 2 early turnovers. Wiley Smith for three. And Dockery with the steal. Leading the defense of Alexander. Inside is Sheldon Williams, who ties the game at 2.
One of the things I think if you're the Southern Jaguars that you need to do when you have an opportunity, you need to take it. Don't pass it up to try to get a better one. Sometimes that's fool's gold. The Blue Devils react very well defensively.
Alexander for three. Williams with the rebound for Duke. Outlet pass to Paulus, the freshman from Syracuse, New York. Go inside to McRoberts. And a whistle inside on Southern. And a look at Duke. Enrollment of just over 6,000 students. President Richard Nixon, Duke graduate. Dockery. Paulus. Reddick. The drive and the dish to Sheldon Williams.
Now Duke with a little pressure. Southern's big guys really do handle the ball very well.
Here's Wiley, who is a freshman from Dallas, Texas. Just think of him. Freshman battling the other freshman, Paulus. Playing the #1 seed overall. The reverse layup won't go by Wiley. The putback is up and through by Jared Campbell.
That's really a nice job with the penetration. And I don't care who you are and who you're playing. You get that kind of penetration, force the defense to commit. You're going to create some offensive rebounding opportunities.
Sheldon Williams just outside Tulsa and a Southern foul. That was quickly put on Jared Campbell.
Now this Southern squad forces the defense to commit. Sheldon Williams mistimes his jump for the rebound, and Campbell gets to knock it in the basket. You know, a lot of people might remember the Southern Jaguars from the old Ben Jobe days, particularly that team that beat Georgia Tech in the '93 NCAA tournament. This is a different Southern team. Ben Jobe's Southern teams really ran up and down and scored a lot of points. This Southern team under Rob Spivey, much more of a ball control-oriented team.
Campbell with the steal. Tough drive by Alexander, and he puts it up and down.
Alexander averages almost 16 points a game.
Dockery. McRoberts with the offensive rebound, and corkscrews in for two.
You know, Duke is not a team noted for its offensive rebounding, but in transition, sometimes it's tough to find guys to block out. Roberts just does a nice job running the court. And Josh McRoberts is a guy who I think has really developed and played much better as the season has gone on, particularly recently. He had an outstanding ACC tournament, did McRoberts.
Lee Malchione and DeMarcus Nelson check in for Duke. Here comes Cipriano, Jersey City, New Jersey. And Alexander. And outside for Wiley.
Well, you're going to get that penetration, make the defense collapse, and you're going to get the open shot. Southern's going to have to make a high percentage because Duke will make a high percentage of those.
So we've had 3 lead changes in the first 4 minutes of our game and 3 ties. Riley Smith working on JJ and Cipriano. Nice outside shot. Peter Cipriano, the SWAC tournament MVP.
Lots of times in a game like this, you see the three-point shot as an equalizer, but Southern is not a team that relies greatly on the three-point shot.
They go inside. Nelson can't hit. Gets his own miss. Double dribble. Duke comes in having won 3 consecutive wins. Southern has won 6 in a row. Sheldon Williams being heard from early inside. And then Cipriano for Southern. Knocks one in from outside. And a look at the 2-time ACC Player of the Year, including this season, J.J. Reddick, in a scoring match with Adam Morrison of Gonzaga, who had a big night scoring in their win.
That was a tough game for Gonzaga. They had to come from behind to beat Xavier. Here's Ralph Highshaw. This is the guy that Coach Rob Spivey refers to as his point forward. 6'7", but handles the ball very, very well.
Alexander and across the lane. And put in by that point forward. Highshaw, sophomore from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Now you're getting a look at the Southern strategy. Spreading the court, trying to attack Duke off the dribble.
Williams again having his way inside the lane.
Southern has spread the court and had success. Duke has had success going inside to Sheldon Williams. The Jaguars simply have no answer for him.
Williams did it. Brandon Wardlow takes it inside. He's called for the charge. Good start for Sheldon Williams of Duke. He's gone 4 of 4. Wardlow picks up his first foul in a game that has had 5 ties and 4 lead changes. We've gone back and forth with these two teams.
Well, if you're the Southern Jaguars and you're the number 16 seed playing the number 1 seed, what you want to do is break the game down into 4-minute segments. Get yourself to the first timeout, then get yourself to the second timeout. And Sheldon Williams is getting himself anything he wants on the inside. He's now 5 for 5. They've all been right on top of the basket. Point-blank range with dunks.
He is eating them alive inside. DeForest Riley Smith. But Brandon Wardlow picked up by the freshman Paulus. Nice effort by J.J. Redick out of bounds. Shot clock at 19. Well, we're only about 50-plus miles, 53 to be exact, from the Duke campus. So they have been practicing and staying in Durham and then coming here to Greensboro.
Man, the Greensboro Coliseum has been a very familiar and friendly venue for the Duke Blue Devils. They are 8-0 all time in the Greensboro Coliseum in NCAA tournament games.
Riley Smith with a good move inside.
In fact, Duke began their title runs in 1992 and 2001 right here on this floor.
The game played here a week ago was just absolutely phenomenal between Duke and BC. And there's a Redick 3. Redick in that game was spectacular.
Now, Redick has been spectacular in a number of games, and his range on the three-point shot is something that you really have to watch to believe. He just keeps backing up and making them.
There's a three-point shot hoisted and missed by Riley Smith. Sean Dockery. And Lee Malchione. His dad was a Duke captain back in the 70s. Malchione inside, and McRoberts with a 9-2 Duke run, their biggest lead at 5.
And Duke is just there. They're pounding the ball inside. They have a tremendous advantage in there. First Sheldon Williams and now Josh McRoberts. And Duke just wearing them out on the inside. One dunk after another.
Here's Peter Cipriano into McRoberts. And that is a tie-up. Southern will inbound.
Now we talk about the Duke Blue Devils and their offensive firepower. J.J. Redick a good 4 steps beyond the three-point arc, so that's sort of the aerial game. And then here is the down in the trenches, the tank kind of warfare inside with Sheldon Williams.
Duke starters back in the game.
Williams and Redick account for 56% of Duke's offense. Nice pass.
Redick.
You know, he makes such good decisions on the basketball court. That time got himself under control, dribbled into the lane, stuck the jumper. And Southern's got to be careful. They don't let the pace of this game get going too quickly because Duke really likes to run up and down.
Alvin Mott has checked in for the first time for Southern. Riley Smith is in. This is Wardlow, the point guard for 3. And it's picked up. Look at the hustle of Sheldon Williams, the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in the ACC.
And Southern only shoots 32% from beyond the three-point arc as a team, so that's not really their game. And the more three-pointers the Blue Devils can force them to take, then the better for Duke.
Foul on Mott. He picks up his first. J.J. Redick up for Player of the Year honors nationally. Comes up with a nice shot there.
Available features like 8-way power.
And gone 5 of 5 to begin this game. Starters still out there for Duke. Redick is put in 5. Duke has gone 9 of 13. finishes the regular season #1 in the AP poll. They began the season #1 in college basketball back in October. Dockery across the lane. McRoberts for 3. Then picked up inside by Stephon Wiley.
That was a very good defensive set for Southern. They forced Sheldon Williams far enough away from the basket he couldn't get those dunks.
Hishaw. Rebound by Williams.
That's a nice move by Hishaw, but in a game like this, you really have to convert that. Obviously, you're not going to make all your shots, but you can get them at point-blank range, so you really got to go.
Sheldon Williams. And the rebound is pulled down by DeForest Riley-Smith.
DeForest Riley-Smith is a guy who can really be a good three-point shooter. He made 60% of his three-point shots during the month of from mid-January to mid-February. He can really shoot him up there.
Alvin Mott puts up an air ball. And then look who's there, a guy you've pointed at since he's come in the game, Ralph Hishaw.
Rob Spivey was really hoping that Ralph Hishaw could create some mismatches for Sheldon Williams or Josh McRoberts to move away from the basket. And for the most part, that has worked.
Wallace goes inside. There was a quick foul on Jared Campbell. He picks up his second foul for Southern. Well, Monday on CSI Miami, an agent puts everyone's lives at risk in a new episode of the mega hit drama. It's Monday on CBS, America's #1 network. Here's Rob Spivey, 3 SWAC tournament titles this year, and then a couple before that at Alabama State, 01-04. Deep turnover picked up by Mott. Last appearance for Southern in the NCAA tournament, 1993, and the upset Georgia Tech in that tournament.
But again, that was a very different era at Southern. The great Ben Jobe, a coach who really believed in running up and down and scoring a lot of points, and that is not the current incarnation of the Jaguars.
Another Reddick 3. He's knocked down 2 and he's got 8.
That is the current incarnation of the Duke Blue Devils. You had better find #4 in transition, folks.
Duke has got their biggest lead of 8, 22-14.
And Paulus does such a nice job finding J.J. Redick, just very comfortable in transition, no hurry, nice form on the shot.
Cipriano checks back in for Southern. Jared Campbell will take a breather on the Southern bench. And here's Hishaw looking on Lee Melchione.
So Duke now going with a little bit smaller lineup, hoping Melchione can match up.
And DeMarcus Nelson is in the game for Duke. Roberts is out. Dockery is out.
Now Duke really only plays 7 guys.
Inside, good position. And Alvin Mott finds it.
Mott is one of those guys who plays very aggressively when he comes in the game. His responsibility is to be trying to guard J.J. Redick.
Redick to Nelson for 3. Rebound by Mott. Rebounding is crucial for Southern tonight.
Well, you certainly, it's hard enough to prevent Duke from scoring with the first opportunity. You certainly don't want to give him the second. And Peter Cipriano,
nice move.
He is a guy who is capable of putting some points on the board. First team all SWAC.
Second time. He's got a first team selection. Double team to Sheldon Williams.
Boy, Rob Spivey is telling Winston Stiff that he thought Sheldon Williams walked. It's not the most objective view, but it's right down there in front of Rob Spivey.
Williams wide open to Marcus Nelson is fouled on the play by Hishaw.
When Hishaw, very fortunate he didn't get an intentional foul called on that and very nearly wrapped his arm.
It's a 4-point game with under 8 to play in the first half. In the first round of the NCAA. Back in Greensboro, let's take a look at the Powerade. Power in the paint.
And you talk about inside power at 6'9", 250. Sheldon Williams personifies that, but he's also got nice touch in there. So a combination of power and grace. Sheldon Williams, better not let him catch the ball that close to the basket.
7:52 to play in our first half. DeMarcus Nelson at the free throw line. Guys been battling right ankle problems a good part of this season. But his health may be right where they need it as the sophomore and the rest of the Blue Devils begin the march on the road to Indianapolis. Hitting the first free throw right there as you take a look at the team fouls. As Dan said earlier, the last 2 championship runs began right here in Greensboro.
Now Duke coming with some pressure.
Duke is shooting 60% from the field and Southern at 43%.
And the reason for that is Duke is just getting great looks at the basket. Wide open threes for Redick. Sheldon Williams with a couple of dunks. Man-to-man for the Blue Devils. You see Duke, they try to pressure the ball so far from the basket. They do a great job defending the three-point shot.
Tip-in trying to miss by Riley Smith of Southern. And that is a foul inside. It's on Duke. And it goes on to Marcus Nelson for the first time.
You get a cheer in the arena from the Southern partisans that that's the first foul called on Duke. You know, we've heard that over and over again. It's the old conspiracy theory.
Here's Peter Cipriano, who played at St. Anthony's High School in Jersey City and played for Coach Bob Hurley. And when he played there, they were state champions and was in that bracket and in that state. And nationally, they were ranked number 10. Well, this kid had other offers to bigger schools in
Absolutely,
Southern.
and he just came to Southern and he fell in love with the campus and the whole atmosphere. And he has been a very valuable player. And, you know, these Southern kids, people like Cipriano, who's a senior, they've been through some coaching turmoil, and finally Rob Spivey came in, and basically we talked about what Bruce Pearl did at Tennessee with the same guys left over from the old coach, Sheldon Williams with another dunk. Well, Rob Spivey, his turnaround at Southern may be even more incredible.
When you talk about coaches, they've had 4 different coaches in the last 6 seasons. And there was a drive and a foul. Alvin Mott was the man doing the maneuvering, and Melchione took it inside for Duke. It's Josh McRoberts will check in for Melchione.
And while we're talking about Southern University, they have a tremendous tradition there. Not only, but one of the things that we've been hearing here, the great band, but they have a great baseball program. Their football program is outstanding. Their women's basketball program has been outstanding, but they have struggled in recent years with their basketball program. And so they went out and got the best coach in the SWAC, Rob Spivey, and he was able to turn things around immediately. His first year, they won the SWAC championship.
J.J. Redick inside to Sheldon Williams. Sheldon Williams has started 7 of 8, 14 points, 4 rebounds.
Well, it's almost like a layup line for Sheldon Williams. He's doing a great job moving without the basketball, getting himself in position. His Duke teammates delivering the ball right on the money, right when he's open.
You only think of Redick as a shooter, but he is a very skilled passer, too.
Well, Redick also a very smart player. Recognizes that when the defense is on him, particularly when they're applying that kind of pressure, somebody's got to be open, and he found Sheldon Williams.
That was deflected out of bounds. I think it was important for Sheldon Williams, too. Not that he's a selfish player, but he wanted a lot of spotlight on his play because he was thinking about going pro last year and didn't want it just to be all J.J. Redick. And I think it has been evenly distributed throughout the season. A lot of credit has gone to both those players. Shot clock at 27.
Well, I think it always helps when you have a couple of All-Americans to build your team around. But Mike Krzyzewski, I think, has done a very good job with the psyche of this particular team, blending the youth and the experience. And, you know, it's been a really interesting ride for J.J. Redick, all the records that he has set.
Cipriano, the rejection, 4-on-2 the other way, and trying to finish off, and doing it, Chris Alexander.
Nice job by Southern to get that run-out basket. The transition game, again, not really the game played by the Southern Jaguars, but they'll take that opportunity break whenever they can get it.
Redick from Roanoke, Virginia. The drive, counted for 2 and a foul.
Well, Redick doing a great job answering back. He's noted, in fact, the NCAA's leader for 3-point baskets, but he's got an opportunity to get a 3 the old-fashioned way with a great drive to the basket. And Redick, he gets the dribble, the defense runs away from him, he drives to the basket, draws the contact, Now, this was the answer that J.J. Redick had to make to Southern because they did a nice job getting the ball up the court. Chris Alexander, the leading scorer for the Jaguars, running the court very well.
Great free throw shooter is Redick. He's just given Duke their biggest lead tonight.
You know, Redick started the season shooting like 84% from the free throw line. Everybody wanted to know what was wrong. So he's up to 88% now.
Duke has their starting 5 on the floor. Stephon Wiley. Highshaw with the ball. He's been a spark for Southern tonight. There is a shove and a Duke foul. And that foul will go on McRoberts for the first time. CBS Sportsline keeps you up close and near the action with live scoring and video highlights. Get up-to-the-minute scores and on-demand highlights for each first-round game at CBSSportsline.com. Great inbound pass caught by Alexander.
And what a play by Alexander to get that ball over Sheldon Williams. He shot that thing straight up in the air.
And McRoberts galloping. Williams. Paulus. Redick working on Riley Smith. 2 defenders on JJ. Rebound by Cipriano. On the side, Chris Alexander for 3. Redick grabs the loose ball and gets it off to Dockery. Williams is ahead. Dockery throws it up. And Williams there to clean it up.
I think you're going to get a foul called on Sheldon Williams.
I think you're right.
Sean Dockery very out of control on that break, and I think he felt if he just threw the ball up there, Sheldon Williams would get it. Williams did, but he wasn't able to convert. This is a nice job defensively by Chris Alexander, getting back on the defensive end.
Highshaw against McRoberts.
Highshaw's drawn a couple of fouls against McRoberts with that ability to take him off the dribble.
A good-looking drive, and the layup is in. And put there by DeForest Riley Smith, a guy who started at Penn State, was all Big Ten freshman, transferred to Xavier, didn't play there, and transferred to Southern. So he's played in big-time conference games. That's not the way. That's the guy we were just talking about, Riley Smith. Nice feed inside to Highshaw. Outside to Alexander.
Really nice ball handling by Highshaw. That ball slipped out of his hands, but he was able to control it and make a nice assist pass out for the jumper.
Well, the crowd, and there is a very vocal group here in favor of 16th seed Southern, watching the Jaguars on a 6-0 run. Our Southwest Airlines sideline report takes us to one of the most unique stories of any team in the NCAA tournament. The Southern Jaguars were unable to use their basketball facility until December due to the evacuees from New Orleans and the Hurricane Katrina victims, as Sheldon Williams is inside and fouled very quickly. And it was the initial evacuee site. And this team has not really had a home throughout a good part of the season. Well, they have found a home with their new coach and a berth in the NCAA tournament. And Sheldon Williams with his 16 points. Duke has shot 56%. But they're getting out-rebounded by 4 by a smaller Southern team.
Duke has not been a really strong rebounding team throughout the season.
Sheldon Williams hits. He's got a game-high 17. Redick has 11. Duke shooting 56% from the floor. And a game that has had 6 ties and 5 lead changes. It's Duke, the #1 overall seed, on top, 34-28.
And it's a game that Southern has been able to hang in thus far.
Highshaw inside, rejected by Sheldon Williams, and picked up by the freshman Greg Paulus.
The last time Duke played a SWAC team on the Greensboro Coliseum floor as a #1 seed was in 1986. It was Mississippi Valley State. Very nearly pulled off one of the big upsets in NCAA history.
Duke went to the Final Four that year.
Lost to Louisville in the championship game. That was the Duke team where Johnny Dawkins, now the assistant coach of Duke, was his leading scorer, a senior on that squad.
Sheldon Williams again, having his way inside, grabs his own miss. And is pulled down. Looked like maybe Cipriano is the one to get him, or perhaps
Wardlow's volunteering for the foul, and I think that's the guy they called it on.
I like the way you put that, volunteering.
Well,
for the
he
foul.
doesn't want it called on Cipriano or Highshaw, so he held up his hand, actually chased referee Jim Haney over to the scorer's table saying, hey, it was me, I confess.
Sheldon Williams has accomplished a lot in his career. One of 3 college basketball players in NCAA history. He has scored over 1,500 points, grabbed over 1,000 rebounds, blocked over 350 shots, made over 150 steals. The other 2, Purvis Ellison, and, speaking of Louisville, and David Robinson. Pretty good company.
Very good company. Now, of course, you have to also add that they didn't keep stats like block shots until the 80s. And so think about the kind of players who played in the 70s and 60s and the long history of the NCAA who might have made a list like that had they kept a stat like block shots.
Walton and Alcindor and Bill Russell at San Francisco.
Bill Russell.
You're talking about some great centers, great players.
And that's certainly not to denigrate the accomplishments of guys like Sheldon Williams and Purvis Ellison. It's just to point out, oh, geez, J.J. Redick right across the nose. He did.
And DeForest Riley Smith went over there and said, I didn't mean to get you. Redick went over there and shook his hand. I think Redick is okay.
Easy for you to say. You're not the guy who got poked in the eye.
Well, look at him. His eyes open.
Yeah, he's not bleeding, you know, the eye's not closed. I mean, fine, sure.
It's a little red. This team really feeds off his performance, don't they?
Well, they sure do. He is such a big factor and consistently makes such big shots. And when the ball's going in the basket for Redick, you can just see it pick the whole team up. But that has been his role. He is the guy who, obviously, he's got other players who contribute and play very important roles, but he's the guy who gets them going and is responsible for that.
Duke equals their biggest lead. Williams and Redick, just the 2 of them are outscoring the entire Southern team. And Cipriano. Look how far out Sheldon Williams is. Guarding.
That's what Rob Spiver wants to do, is bring Sheldon Williams away from the basket, but Cipriano shuffled his feet. And Sheldon Williams, of course, would prefer to be closer to the basket, but it's not like he's rooted to the floor when he's out there. He can move his feet a little bit. You wouldn't want him out there guarding the point guard, but generally he can stay with big guys.
Duke with their 30 wins and crossing that 20-win threshold for the 10th consecutive time. Incredible string of success with this program.
And this is a very interesting Duke team. One of the more interesting teams, I think, that in this great Duke run during Mike Krzyzewski's career, because they're not anywhere close to as dominant as some of Mike Krzyzewski's Duke teams have been.
Duke starters back out there. This is Alexander weaving his way for 2.
And one of the flaws that this Duke team possesses is many teams have been able to take the ball on the perimeter and drive them to the basket and score.
Redick from way outside. And Highshaw chases down the loose ball. And takes it into Redick. And that is a charge. Wait a minute. Yep.
Yeah, this is a very good defensive play in transition. Highshaw does a great job exploding by. J.J. Redick is just standing there waiting for him. It's one of those situations where you really like to see a guy like Highshaw jump stop and just shoot the little jumper.
Redick again, and defended on the play by Alvin Mott.
And that may be one of the biggest improvements in J.J. Redick's game, is his ability to take the ball to the baseline, stop, do that step-back jump shot. Almost impossible to block. You've got to get out there to defend the 3, which creates his opportunity to drive the ball to the baseline.
Redick's got 15 points. Alexander, Dockery knocked it away. 21 seconds on the shot clock, 51 to play here in the first half, which That time we'll take it to New York to the Singular at the half with live look-ins, tournament news, and the Singular Naismith update. Top seed Duke by 9 over Southern, equaling their biggest lead tonight. J.J. Redick has started 5 of 9 from the field, 9-point Duke lead.
Sees the screen, goes the opposite way, and that's just a great job to plant, step back on the jump shot, and drill it. J.J. Redick now 5 of 9 from the field. It's a very quiet 15 points for J.J. Redick.
Wiley picked up by Paulus. Here's Alexander. He leads all Southern scorers with 10. And back to Wiley. They'll take it inside, banking his way. Loose. Paulus picks up a foul, or Sheldon Williams. Both were there. And they will put it on Paulus. He picks up his first foul. Here's a kid who could have played quarterback at Notre Dame and maybe even played basketball at Notre Dame. He decided to play both sports, but he comes to Duke. It was more important for him, as great an athlete as he was, to play for Coach Krzyzewski than do anything else within his athletic career.
Well, of course, if you can be the starting point guard at Duke University, part of that legacy, that's a very attractive lure. So you can understand a great football player, and of course it'd be very hard to be the point guard at Duke and also play football. Mike Krzyzewski and his program sort of a full-time kind of endeavor.
They may be kind of equal. Quarterback at Notre Dame, point guard at Duke, right? I mean, those are probably two of the as most widely held and respected positions in all of college sports. And he had a chance to do one or the other.
He's got to watch the 5-second call here.
Dockery. No shot clock, down to the final 5 seconds of the half. And J.J. Redick tried to laser one inside, and McRoberts thought that J.J. was going to fire.
Well, I think everybody in the building thought that J.J. Redick was going to shoot the ball. They ran that play perfectly. He came wide open off that screen. McRoberts was going for the rebound.
Mott at the buzzer. That takes us to halftime. And Duke's lead is 9. This is as big as it has been, and a frustrated Mike Krzyzewski will stalk off the Duke sideline. Let's go to our biggest lead tonight. Monday on CBS. Find out why critics call Neil Patrick Harris TV's #1 scene stealer on a new episode of How I Met Your Mother. Monday on CBS, America's #1 network. J.J. Redick has put in 15. Sheldon Williams, 18 points. The #1 overall seed, Blue Devils of Duke, on top of 16th seed Southern.
Exclusive coverage of the Men's Basketball Championship is sponsored by V for Vendetta, Lowe's, Advanced Auto Parts, and by Pontiac.
Is shooting 53%, and they lead it 39-30 over Southern from the SWAC. As you take a look at some of the numbers, a couple threes. Duke.
Well, it's very interesting. Duke is a team that relies heavily on the three-point shot. They get about 30% of their offense out there. They've only made 2 in the first half. Southern has 9 offensive rebounds. Actually, a very solid performance by the Southern Jaguars. They've been able to use their quickness to create some problems for Duke, but they've had no answer for Sheldon Williams.
There is Cipriano, and he is a very important part of this team. 6 points and 3 rebounds. Duke will start their 5 starters: Paulus, Sheldon Williams, McRoberts, Dockery, and J.J. Redick. And that is stolen right off the bat with the turnover and picked up by Wiley, who gives off to Alexander. The ball knocked away. Turnovers even at 9. Quick shot by Riley Smith with the miss. Offensive rebound. And Wiley. They go inside. And Cipriano. They had enough shots at it.
Well,
Finally, they got it to go.
We just talked about the fact that they had 9 offensive rebounds in the first half, and they continue crashing the boards right there. And suddenly, this is becoming a little bit more interesting.
And another turnover, the 10th for Duke in a 7-point game, and here comes Southern. Forrest, Riley Smith, and a rebound, turn off the glass by Sheldon Williams, who now has a double-double, 18 points and 9, make it now 10 rebounds.
Kevin, for Southern, that quick shot is okay as long as it's an open shot in transition. But that quick shot against defense is probably not what Rob Spivey is looking for.
Redick in a congested lane. Williams is in there clearing room, and a foul.
And we talked earlier about Peter Cipriano at 6'9", 225 pounds. The senior out of New Jersey picks up the loose ball, just takes it right to the basket.
You know, if you look at the landscape of Duke's season, Dan, they had the incredible run in the ACC regular season, clinched the title, staggered a bit at the end, and then regained their focus and muscled their way through to a tournament championship in the ACC. How do you absorb all that and give some perspective to their season?
Well, I think the main thing you have to remember about this particular Duke team is it is not the dominant kind of Duke team that Mike Krzyzewski has had many years in the past. This is a team with some holes. Look at the first half for Duke. They scored 39 points, but 33 of those came from J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams. So there have been times this year when the supporting cast really hasn't offered much support. This is not an outstanding defensive team for Duke. So this is a team that is not among the more dominant teams in recent Duke history, but nonetheless they have been able to put their pieces together and play very well.
Alexander had a terrific little runner. McRoberts gets the rejection. And a timeout taken, and Krzyzewski is just furious. Absolutely furious. But McRoberts comes up big after the inbound was taken away. Duke is on top.
And Duke leads it by 6, and Mike Krzyzewski not a happy camper right at the moment. He is a guy who demands the best effort from his team, and I think he sees that there's not the intensity that he wants out there tonight.
It is fair to say when you play basketball at Duke, it is an experience unlike most kids that play college basketball. For a variety of reasons. Number one, just with the name you wear on your jersey. As McRoberts takes it inside, and there is a foul, and it's called on Chris Alexander. He's 6'1", and McRoberts came bulldozing through, and he comes in at 6'10".
No, Alexander simply didn't get his position established. Man-to-man for Southern.
Redick outside, and he's getting picked up by DeForest Riley Smith. And there's a foul.
Sheldon Williams called for an elbowing foul.
Away from the ball. Duke has 4 turnovers already this half, and 4 in the last 5 trips down court.
Duke has not looked very sharp coming out here in the second half.
Wiley and Cipriano knocks it down. We've got a 4-point ball game with just under 18 minutes left.
Kevin, and I'm telling you what, the longer you allow the Jaguars from Southern to hang around, the more confident that they become. They start standing out there thinking, you know, we can really do this. And anytime you get a team thinking that way, if you're the favorite, it becomes very, very dangerous.
Redick off a screen into Williams. And they call a tie-up inside. Great defense by Southern. And Cipriano authors it inside for the Jaguars.
Well, once again, I think J.J. Redick surprised one of his teammates, passed up a wide-open shot. Sometimes there's such a thing as being too unselfish.
Duke's been outscored in the second half, 6-1. And Wiley inside, lost the ball, and that is a Southern turnover as Malchione and DeMarcus Nelson will check in for Duke, and leaving will be Dockery and McRoberts. On the turnover story.
Southern has been very opportunistic in terms of the turnovers, creating them and capitalizing.
Malchione. The spoon feed, the knock away, and outside Redick for 3. Rebound by Cipriano. You're right. There's a swagger to Southern. At the other end of the floor, it's Campbell. And a missed shot by Alexander. And that is a foul inside on Southern.
And Southern has done a nice job defensively after being dominated by Sheldon Williams early in the game. They've been able to force some turnovers and convert those turnovers into baskets. Duke, as you mentioned, turned it over 4 times early in the second half.
Campbell picked up his 3rd foul. Brandon Wardlow comes in for Stefan Wiley. Alexander remains. And they bring in Ralph Highshaw, the sophomore from Tulsa, who takes the place of Jared Campbell for Southern. Hollis.
Another turnover.
Yep. That's 13. 4 on 2. Inside the drive. Riley Smith can't finish. They'll go to the free throw line, and a foul is called on Melchioni for the 2nd time.
And there is some excitement rippling through not only the Southern team, but the Southern fans and some of the neutral fans out here. You know, the folks from George Washington in particular seem to be very motivated to cheer for Southern.
Because they will play the winner of this game. 19-12, Southern's record in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And in that conference, their record was 15-3. They began the season in horrible fashion. Duke's lead is 3. At halftime, they led by 9, and 9 has been Duke's biggest lead tonight. Reddick has put in 15. Sheldon Williams, 19 for the Blue Devils.
Duke has not scored a field goal in the second half.
They scored a single point and now 2 more with Sheldon Williams in there, getting 21 for the game.
And Sheldon Williams looked serious on that play. He caught the ball and he was taking it to the basket. Did it in a very, very strong move.
This is Alexander dancing with Nelson at 3. Rebound by Sean Dockery. And so this place would have exploded if that 3 dropped. Reddick for 3. And picked up by Highshaw. And they've got numbers and a 4-on-3 the other way. And Wardlow for 3. And a rebound by Nelson of Duke.
Boy, a couple of missed opportunities for Southern. That was a wide open look from 3-point range. But again, have to stress that Southern does not rely heavily on the 3-point shot.
Look at only 3 for Duke in a handful of minutes. Highshaw is on Reddick. Melchioni, good ball rotation over to Dockery. Melchioni for 3. And the rebound by Cipriano of Southern.
And Southern really doing a nice job on the boards. For Duke, for the most part, it's been 1 shot and out. Only 4 offensive rebounds in the first half for the Blue Devils.
Reddick is on Riley Smith, the former Nittany Lion at Penn State. Hey, that's off of Southern. Sheldon Williams has been so tough tonight. 21 points and 12 rebounds. A terrific performance. The top seed Blue Devils of Duke, highlighted by the 2 seniors. Sheldon Williams, who's been terrific tonight, and J.J. Reddick. Williams with 21, Reddick with 15, and they have accounted for the majority, the large majority of the scoring for Duke tonight.
And that is an imbalance that you've seen all year. Reddick and Williams score 56% of the Duke points, but the imbalance, nothing like what we're seeing tonight. They're the only guys scoring.
Reddick inside, doubled.
Tough shot.
And picked up by Southern and Highshaw. And ahead to Riley Smith and Wardlow.
Big problem for Duke. They're only getting 1 crack at it. If that ball doesn't go in the basket, Southern's coming the other way.
This shot, and see, Southern has now grown cold themselves. Duke is 1 of 8 in their last 14 possessions with 6 turnovers. They've only scored 3 points in the last 7 minutes.
Southern is a team with excellent quickness, and they come in with the reputation as an outstanding defensive team.
Oh, nice knockaway.
And nothing we've seen tonight would lead us to believe that that reputation isn't anything other than well-deserved.
Jared Campbell had the deflection.
Campbell's an interesting story. He's has the second highest assist total on this team, and Southern can't get that one to go.
Yep. They've missed a bunch in a row. They are really struggling now. With Reddick popping a three.
See, and you can only struggle for so long offensively against Duke because Duke, even if they can't apply the kind of defensive pressure of Duke teams of old, they keep pressure on you offensively.
Reddick averages 28. He's got 18 tonight. Wardlow against Paulus. And Alexander can't hit. Another Southern miss and a foul. That goes on DeMarcus Nelson of Duke. With NCAA March Madness on demand, you can watch live tournament games on your computer outside of your viewing area for free. Sign up now at ncaasports.com/MMOD. At the free throw line is Chris Alexander. He's led this team in scoring 20 times this season. Marvin Mott will come in and take the place of DeForest Riley Smith.
You know, we talked about Peter Cipriano earlier as a senior. He's been through all the trials and tribulations at Southern. Well, Chris Alexander, another senior, who's been through the same thing. The ability to play in the NCAA tournament, very important to those guys.
Paulus off a screen, Reddick in dancing with Mott. And tip in try by Nelson. And then Mick Roberts is in there. And he tries to work his way through. And that is a Southern foul. And it looks like Highshaw picks it up. He does. Number 4 on him. And he has been a very effective Jaguar player for Coach Spivey. And you can take a look at some of the big-time schools this team has played.
Now, they didn't win any of these games, but obviously Southern went out and played just about everybody. So they're certainly not intimidated by coming in and playing a team like Duke on a neutral court.
Highshaw will come out. Cipriano is back in. The start of the season, the Jaguars did, losing their first 6 games. We just saw the teams, LSU, Texas A&M, and so on. Then they won 5 straight. Then they won 7 of the next 10. And then they finished the season winning 6 consecutive games. So really this season, the momentum and the peaking has been just perfect for this tournament run.
And what really got them turned around was a loss that they suffered at Oklahoma on December the 17th. There was a game they lost by 14 points, but it was a competitive game all the way down close to the end. And after that game, Rob Spivey walked off the court and told his guys, you know, I think we're going to be pretty good, and certainly he has been prophetic in that.
Well, Duke has equaled their biggest lead. Brown continues tomorrow. Most of you will see Bucknell and Arkansas. Some other good games in there. Ohio State is a team I'm watching coming out of the Big Ten.
Well, and that's another against Davidson. A lot of people are talking about that as a 2-15 matchup that everybody should watch. A lot of people have that one in their brackets. Ohio State playing pretty well. But much like Winthrop playing against Tennessee here earlier today, Davidson, a veteran team and a talented team that has played against the larger schools and had some success.
They go inside to Mott, and the ball was jarred free, and it's off of Southern. Nice defense by Sheldon Williams.
You know, we've talked about the Southern defense and how Rob Spivey's guys have done a nice job, but you have to give some credit to the Duke defense. They have really increased their intensity and has made it very difficult for Southern.
Paulus to Reddick. Great pass and a great finish.
That's a great job by Reddick. He was open well before Paulus threw him the ball, but he just kept curling with that cut to the basket. Paulus finally got him the ball, and he was able to make a nice move.
And for the first time tonight, Duke has a double-digit lead, if you can believe that, against the 16 seed. Alexander can't get it to go. Nice rebound inside by Williams, clutching onto his 14th. There's Paulus. Lasers it inside to Nelson. And the net's off of Duke, and away it goes. 9-1 run by Mike Krzyzewski's Blue Devils. Paulus finds Reddick. J.J. with 20. And here's our tournament summary. George Washington won here earlier. They'll take on the winner of this game. And Adam Morrison put in 35 for Gonzaga. They win their first round game for the 4th consecutive season. Reddick has put in 20. 11:38 to play in the second half. Southern came out really brought it close to get things going in the early stages of this half of basketball, but Duke is slowly slipping away. Like you said before, it's their first double-digit lead of the entire game right now. Mott. And the rebound is fought for and taken by Campbell. And Williams looking around and finally finds a teammate to get that ball off to.
Well, that's pretty good. Lying flat on his stomach. He's able to note that J.J. Redick is covered, and so he makes the better pass. And the Duke defense has really picked up. Southern struggling to score on the offense.
And the Southern is 0 of their last 8 in the last 6 minutes. They had the opportunity to because Duke was struggling a bit. Williams inside and whacked by Mott.
Well, Sheldon Williams, of course, once again, the Defensive Player of the Year in the Atlantic Coast Conference. He's right there, blocks the shot, then comes down with the basketball and scrambles after it. He's the guy diving in front of Redick, turns around and finds Paulus. That is good patience by Sheldon Williams. A lot of times you see a guy laying down on the floor there. There's a little bit of panic, but nothing like that for Sheldon Williams. Normally a very, very good free throw shooter, 73% on the season.
One thing that Krzyzewski instills in his team is the mental toughness. And it's a very tough ball club in that regard.
Well, I think that you have to be mentally tough to want to play for Mike Krzyzewski.
Yes.
You know,
that's a good point.
He's a great coach, but he's also a very tough coach. And I think you've got to have some mental toughness to go there and play. And certainly, once you already have that, he drives you hard enough that you develop it and it grows and matures.
Duke's biggest lead of 12. Campbell in on Williams and knocked away by McRoberts. That is a tough twosome in there. McRoberts has blocked 4 shots tonight. It's Paulus the other way. And the freshman McRoberts will reset the offense. Redick, good fake and a screen. And then here comes Mott with the ball. 3-on-2. Riley Smith. A horrible looking fast break. Well, I almost just got out of control with every pass and with every stride.
Well, I think you have to give the Duke Blue Devils some credit on this. DeMarcus Nelson does a nice job running in, and the ball is just misthrown. But if Nelson isn't there, it's an easier pass. Redick was looking for a foul that time. Jumped up from behind the three-point arc, was looking for the whistle, and we didn't get it. It developed into a fast break for Southern.
Reddick is finding a double in a straight jacket. Paulus, who hasn't scored, but does have 5 assists. Reddick finds a 3. And a timeout taken by Duke. Reddick's got 23. He's hit 4 3-point shots with that sweet stroke. He gives Duke lead on Southern, shooting 46% from the floor with 4 threes and 5 more blocks than the smaller Jaguars.
Duke has been a little bit sloppy on offense for the most part tonight, but you can see Southern only 35% shooting, 0 for 7 from beyond the three-point arc. The Duke Blue Devils, particularly here in the second half, have done a nice job picking up the defensive pressure.
Southern hasn't scored in about 8 minutes from the field until that 3 right there by the 4th Riley Smith.
Boy, and J.J. Redick ran into a Jared Campbell screen and knocked him back 3 feet.
Here is Redick. And Paulus. Melchione screen. And Paulus the drive. That's only the second shot that Paulus has taken tonight.
Now DeForest Riley Smith is able to get open for this shot. That is one heck of a screen right there. Redick never saw him. And you don't run into a screen that hard unless you're really going.
And he always is going. Sheldon Williams inside. Count it for 2. Williams having a sensational game. 24 points and 15 rebounds.
Well, Williams was dominant early in the game, and then Duke sort of got away from going to him, and recently Williams has reasserted his domination on the inside. That is a great catch in traffic and just muscles it up to the basket.
Here's Alexander from Lawton, Oklahoma. Began his college career at the Redlands Community College in Oklahoma. That is another three, and popped in by DeForest Riley Smith from Cincinnati.
Boy, and that was not bad defense by J.J. Redick. He was right there, had a hand in his face. But remember, DeForest Riley Smith is a guy who can really get on a roll shooting threes.
But then here they come again as Paulus finds Sheldon Williams. First trip to the NCAA by Southern since 1993. And I get a shot like this from the former Nittany Lion of Penn State in the transfer. Duke responds with Williams up high and down hard. This is a school based in Baton Rouge.
And you were talking about it before, Kevin, that they were not able to even get into their basketball facility for practice or for games until mid-December because the evacuees from New Orleans were using their facility as a shelter.
Alexander for three. That is the third in this second half.
And I'll tell you what, a team that goes through that kind of adversity is not likely to quit, and Southern certainly not backing off right here. They've made a couple of big threes now and have reduced this Duke margin.
Redick for three. He answers at the other end for Duke.
They really ought to consider guarding him.
You know, one of the things Redick does so well is move without the ball. He'll pass the ball and bang, he's off to another spot.
He has done a great job moving without the ball all season long, and that is a wonderful defensive play. That time he saw the screen from Campbell and avoided it.
Great hustle by J.J. Redick. He's put in 26. Williams has put in 27. Wednesday in America's most watched network, a most watched new show. Vigilante strikes in a new episode of Criminal Minds. Wednesday on CBS, America's #1 network. If nothing else, the Southern Band has been worth the price of admission tonight. They have been absolutely fantastic.
As they always are.
They were just great. Just absolutely great.
And you know, we were talking about Southern and their other sports programs. Their women's basketball team, interestingly enough, in the NCAA tournament, and their first-round opponent in Norfolk, the Duke Blue Devils.
Drive by Campbell inside. You know, Southern had a stretch where they missed 9 consecutive shots. And there was an opportunity there to really close the gap on Duke, because Duke was staggering, too, with turnovers and missed shots of their own. But Duke has persevered, and Southern is still trying to collect some lost possibilities and opportunities from earlier on. Alexander with the teardrop, and another rebound. Number 17, collected by Sheldon Williams.
So Sheldon Williams, what a force he has been in this game.
So dominant. Here's Dockery. And McRoberts thought about three and settles for a pass to Nelson. He launches the three. Cipriano reels in the rebound. Campbell.
A nice defense by Redick to get over there and cover up Wiley.
Long three by Riley Smith won't go. If it is George Washington and Duke coming up on Saturday, it is going to be a terrific ball game.
Particularly if George Washington can set the kind of tempo that they did for about a 6 or 7 minute period in that second half, where they raced the big lead and where they were able to get back in the game and eventually win it.
Oh, Redick moving to his left and off balance and took a bump, puts it down. Redick with 28 points. That is a game high.
Redick just driving to the basket, gets it up there with the left hand, and you know, people talk about it, and there's been all kinds of discussion about the improvement that J.J. Redick has made to his game in many facets of the game. But that's some strength right there to get down into the lane and, despite the bump, get the ball up and in the grade.
Riley picked up his 4th foul for Southern. That free throw gives Duke their biggest lead over the Jaguars from the Southwestern Athletic Conference tonight.
You know, J.J. Redick may be the most finely conditioned college basketball player that I maybe have ever seen. He's just amazing.
And as strong mentally as he is physically. Redick and Morrison with this cross-country duel as they come into the postseason, chasing the scoring title. And one other time in college basketball, the two first-team All-Americas carried the scoring race into the postseason. 1958, Cincinnati's Oscar Robertson and Seattle's Elgin Baylor. And the last scoring champ to reach the Final Four, Oscar Robertson, 1960. And the last national champion top scorer, Clyde Lovellette at Kansas in 1952.
You know, those are some of the really great names in college basketball. Talking about J.J. Redick and Adam Morrison and that company, that is pretty good company.
And Redick may be finished for the night. Alcione is in. Roberts, Paulus, Sheldon Williams, and Sean Dockery. One thing about Southern, they were not awed by what they faced tonight.
Well, we talked about that with Rob Spivey yesterday, and he said given the schedule that they've played, and we showed you some of that schedule, at Texas or against Texas, LSU, at Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Tulsa, Xavier, you know, those are pretty good teams. And so these guys, even though they're playing Duke, and Duke's the #1 team in the country, the #1 seed, they came in here feeling like they had a pretty good opportunity to compete.
Well, it's great when you see these schools, the mid-major schools like Southern and Wichita State, play these BCS schools. A long three by Alexander. He puts that down. And Southern from three-point territory tonight has gone 4 of 12. Paulus. Sheldon Williams. Paulus with another assist. And tonight he's got 8 without a single point. But the freshman from Syracuse is dishing well.
That's a great pass to Sheldon Williams. That just goes to show you don't have to score a lot of points to really help your team. Paulus, I think, has played well defensively in the second half. After some early turnovers in the second half, he has finally settled down.
You forget sometimes he's a freshman, don't you?
Well, you forget sometimes he's a freshman, and keep in mind that for Greg Paulus and Josh McRoberts, 2 freshmen, this was their first NCAA tournament game. You know, Duke has this postseason media guide that's about as thick as a telephone book. And they talk about all Duke's NCAA history and records and stuff like that. But for Greg Paulus and Josh McRoberts, this was their first NCAA tournament game.
And picked up. Paulus got it after a bungled attempt by Southern to move it inside.
Again, the Duke defense doing a nice job cutting Southern off in terms of penetration. Now Duke looking to spread the floor. So this is an opportunity for Duke to work on something that they might need late in a close game in later rounds of the tournament, the ability to run some time off the clock and then score at the end of the clock, and that's not really the way they want to do it.
Highshaw playing with 4 fouls, guarded by McRoberts, and kicks it back to Alexander. And Highshaw again. McRoberts defended. Saved by Cipriano. He takes the shot over Sheldon Williams. And Sheldon collects his 18th rebound.
18 rebounds.
That is just amazing. And 29 points. Redick finishes with 29. We told you Adam Morrison had 35 earlier on. Oh, Redick is going to come back in the game. That's what we were just talking about. These 2 guys with this coast-to-coast, cross-country scoring duel. Timeout taken by Duke and 2:56 remaining. Commanding 16-point lead. Looking at a date with George Washington Saturday. Dan and I have talked about the trials and tribulations of the Southern team, the classic coach Spivey and this resilient group. Their first NCAA appearance since 1993, the hurricane issues they've had to deal with, the lack of facilities at their campus. I mean, it is really a wonderful story, and the perseverance is something you really respect.
Absolutely, and this is a veteran team, and you have a new coach coming in with an entirely different style, a disciplined kind of style, and the players really accepted that. So Rob Spivey deserves a lot of credit for the way Southern has been able to play this year. Paulus misses that one, but you have to give some credit to these players as well. It's a very tough adjustment when you're a senior and a new coach comes in to try to change everything you've been doing before.
Now, Reddick coming back in. You think they're trying some things they may use later on?
Absolutely. I was just thinking that as we were talking about how they were spreading the court and trying to score, and I almost made the comment, well, if they were really working hard on that, they'd have Reddick in the game.
Well, you got your wish. Shot clock at 8. Picked up by McRoberts. And a foul. So they run the clock. They got a shot. They get a guy at the free throw line when we come back, leading by 16, 2:21 to 15. Sheldon Williams has put on quite a show tonight. 29 points and 18 rebounds. His career high is 30 and 19. He's got 4 blocks, too, to add to those impressive numbers. He has been terrific. His folks are here tonight watching. These are Reddick's folks. And here's his dad. So we now know where Sheldon gets his size. There's McRoberts at the line.
So it's more than just the weight room, you're saying.
You know, Sheldon really has got a very chiseled look about him for the kind of position he plays and the rugged style that he exudes. I mean, he is really cut. Well, we've had a good day here in Greensboro today. We had a couple of very good games, an overtime game, and then a last-second shot by a Tennessee player whose background is from Kentucky, who Reddick just fell down hard.
Well, he caught an elbow in the eye. I think it was inadvertent. But
is it the same eye that he got a scratch on earlier on?
And you know, it's hard for me to see at this distance, but it looks to me like maybe J.J. Reddick, there's some redness around the eye.
Greg Boateng will check in. He is a freshman from London. As you see, Reddick leaving the floor.
Reddick is trying to cover right there in the middle of your screen. Gets blasted.
And Martinez Hotzus is in for Duke. And there's DeMarcus Nelson, Paulus remaining. And Hotzus gets it. Duke yesterday was practicing. And the players, as these teams always do the night in the afternoon before the tournament begins, put on a dunk display as one of the many drills that Krzyzewski has his team do. And easily the 2 best dunkers on this team, Hotzus from Lithuania and Josh McRoberts, the freshman from Indiana. I mean, they were absolutely jaw-droppingly good.
Well, both of those guys are tremendous athletes. They've got good quickness. They can really jump.
Here's Jamal Boykin coming in for McRoberts.
And Martinez Hotzus, I think the only thing he's got to do is convince Mike Krzyzewski that he's going to go out there and play defense.
Right. And Paulus puts it in. And tonight's Chevy players of the game. Chris Alexander with a valiant 19-point effort. And Sheldon Williams with a mesmerizing 29 and 18 performance. 57th career double-double. And here's Greg Paulus. I think we showed a graphic back in the first half. He led the Atlantic Coast Conference in assists.
I'm sitting over there with Mike Krzyzewski having a discussion, and I think maybe the person who knows better than anyone else that this is Greg Paulus' first NCAA tournament game is Mike Krzyzewski.
Yes.
And he knows how important his point guard will be to any run through the NCAA tournament. And
that's a great shot right there by Andy Goldberg, our director. We had a long talk with Mike yesterday here at practice as the drive inside will count for 2. This is the Atlanta Regional, and Texas A&M has just taken Syracuse and Jerry McNamara out of this tournament. You just wonder if Syracuse wasn't so spent by that great run in the Big East.
And that's a very good point, Kevin. That's the big question on everybody's mind. Did Syracuse have anything left in the tank? That was just a marvelous, marvelous run. Captivated the college basketball world
It was.
For 4 days.
And McNamara was right at the heart of that story.
In more ways than one, he got his coach Jim Boeheim in trouble with Jim's wife, a little bit of salty language at a press conference, and so that was one of the amusing sidebars of this postseason.
Now, the one thing you realize when you hear these coaches talk about their players is Alexander can't get it, but Cipriano slams it in. A timeout taken by Southern. They call them my kids, and I mean there is an extension there of family. That's the guy that will say that more than any other coach maybe in the country is Mike Krzyzewski. And you take a look at that picture right there, Wojciechowski and Chris.
Update time in Salt Lake City. San Diego State and Indiana are down to 2:08 to play. Indiana at the line. Let's listen into Ian Eagle and Jim Spanarkel.
Fouls against San Diego State. Killingsworth, the senior, knocks down the first.
Way to pull yourself back together again. Mike Davis understanding how difficult it is to come right back to that line when you've just missed a pair. Big shot right here, though. He has to concentrate and finish this one off.
Killingsworth gets them both.
And now they get the opportunity to do the offense-defense substitution.
So, relationship with the players, and so your most successful coaches, guys like Jim Boeheim, who went to bat defending Jerry McNamara, those are the kind of people who have those relationships.
So we're inside a minute to play, and Duke is going to take a victory and get ready for George Washington, a very athletic, circus-like team that they will play. I mean, they are a 94-foot baseline-to-baseline ball club, and full of athleticism and energy. And that will be a good test for Duke.
Well, they got those long, quick players, guys who can attack the basket, guys who can shoot the three, and with a Pops Mensah-Bonsu, who appears to be relatively healthy after coming back after that knee surgery, they have somebody who they can use to attack Sheldon Williams inside.
Williams at 29 and Redick at 29, and Duke wins at Greg Gumbel 70-54 as we send it to you in New York.